Peace everyone, Unmasked Art here, and welcome to day 5 of Inktober. Today's prompt is chicken. So weird. And I have a fun one today. You'll probably notice that I'm really zoomed in, and I like to do this. I like to do this when I'm doing the manga pages because I don't want to give the story away. So I'm gonna try to keep as much of the story hidden as possible, and then I'm going to try to do one frame at a time. And then as the story develops and I finish it off, obviously you'll know what's happening, but hopefully we'll have a laugh along the way. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing your guys' drawings that you did for yesterday's prompt. And I gotta say, your guys' ideas and execution for these Inktober prompts is absolutely inspiring. I'm getting so many submissions. It's just crazy. I just can't even get over it. It's awesome. I love seeing them every time I wake up and I see like just a huge list of people sharing their drawings. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is exactly what I wanted with Inktober and with my Facebook group that I started later last year. It's really inspiring, and I'm just grateful that you guys take the time to share your artwork with me, and I'm super happy to be able to share it on my channel for everyone. There was a lot of great submissions for yesterday's prompt, and it's been a struggle for me this week to try to get into like creating decent stuff. And then yesterday's prompt was really fun to do. I'm sorry that I noticed a few of you in the chat missed the stream, and that's all right. It's still up. You can watch it if you want, and you're here today, so that's always good. So I'm gonna let those play. And for anybody that's new to the live stream, if you want to share your Inktober pieces, make sure you join the Unmasked Art family. I have the link for that in the description. I also have the link for all of the supplies that I'm using in the description, so feel free to check that out. And as these pictures here finish off, I just got to say one more time how awesome they were. Oh, there's a little nugget. I really enjoyed that one. And then the crossword, or not the crossword, but the word find, that was another really fun one that you can go check out and try to find as many words as you can. That one there was really cool too. Great lighting that you created with the ink, fantastic work. And then so fine art Anna, as you guys see in the chat, she is doing something a little bit different. She's not following the prompt. She kind of created her own prompts where she takes two animals and then combines them together, and that is like the raddest thing in the world. And I think that we're gonna have to do, like, maybe in February or something like that, we'll have to do like the daily live streams again, and maybe Anna and I can get together and collaborate on a list of animals to combine, or maybe you guys can come up with a list of animals to combine, because the idea is just awesome. And the work she's been submitting for Inktober has been so rad, so well executed. If you guys don't subscribe to Anna's channel, then I definitely recommend checking out. Her artwork is spectacular. Real quick, let me just try to say hello to a few people I see. Goodness, you guys really been chatting it up. PUBG, Sneaks, good to see you guys. Rella, Mindy, let's see, I'm gonna try not to miss anybody. Shiny, always a pleasure to see you. Gihan, Steve, good morning to you. Sleepwalker, glad you're able to make it. Alex, good to see you in the stream. Let's see, Brenda, Joy, Lady Marigold, Lily. Hopefully I caught everybody there. Thank you guys so much for coming by. I got a treat for you today because I'm going to be doing a manga page, and I'm going to be using a bit of brush ink here to create my panels. The first panel is very insignificant as far as design goes. I'm gonna try to keep it in the frame for the video because I do have the camera zoomed in quite a lot, so that you guys don't see the other panels. And we'll just kind of do one panel at a time. I did some of the line art from drawing the panels and drawing the page out because drawing with a ruler is really boring to watch, and it takes a long time to do on camera and try to keep my head out of the way. Oh, hello Richmond, Angel, Nicola. Good day to you. Glad you were able to make it to the live stream. Be sure to give the live stream a thumbs up if you enjoy it. I always like I like the feedback, the instant feedback after I finish streaming, just to know that I was doing something right today. So I appreciate that. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You know me, love questions. And who knows what kind of crazy topics we'll have today. We had a pretty good chat yesterday, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Yesterday's stream was a rather long one, and I was quite pleased with the outcome. I suppose I could flip back and show you guys yesterday's results. Gonna have to wait for this ink to dry a little bit though. I just realized I need to put a few protective sheets of paper just in case the ink bleeds through a little bit. What was your dinner last night and who prepared it? That's a fun question. So dinner last night was homemade pizza, and I prepared it. Quick little history. One of my first jobs, it was actually my third job, but it was the one that lasted the longest for sure, was I did dishes at an Italian restaurant place in my hometown, and I started off doing the dishes, and by the time I left working there, I went from doing the dishes to being an assistant manager, and I literally learned essentially everything when it came to running the restaurant, and did everything from waiting tables, bussing tables, doing dishes, even delivery driver when I got a car, and of course cooking. And so I learned how to do pizzas and all of that, and so I'm pretty quick at making pizza dough from scratch, and that's what I did yesterday for dinner. It was rather good. Oh, you also had pizza last night. Oh, hello, Tiger. Oh, hello, Christine. Yeah, so my idea for today's prompt, I kind of have I have two extremes. I really have either I have no idea what to do and I struggle like crazy, or I know exactly what I'm going to do, and the entire idea from beginning to end just like flashes into my brain in an instant. And yesterday's prompt was like that. After chatting with you guys a bit during Wednesday's live stream, and then this morning when I was getting up, my wife was leaving for work, and the idea for today's prompt it flooded my brain. It's just the way ideas come to me, and I really have no explanation for it. But today's prompt was just like a wave of inspiration, and every single panel, the entire story of today's manga page just kind of like jumped into my brain, and I got up out of bed just as my wife was walking out the front door, and I set up my drawing monitor. I started sketching in Photoshop, and I probably spent like, I don't know, 15 minutes, if that, sketching in Photoshop, because that's literally all it took for me to like lay this idea out. I was like, as soon as I had it, I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. So it was nice, because it doesn't happen very often. Although it did happen quite a bit last year. Let's see. Do you and your lovely wife take turns cooking? Yeah, we take turns cooking. There's things that I cook that she cannot cook, and essentially anything that has to do with dough. She's just not good at handling dough. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I'm pretty good at working with dough, and that's what I make. I make pasta sauce, pot pies, lasagna, anything that has to do with tortillas. I make my own tortillas as well. Did I put vegan cheese on it? Nope, I did not. My pizza only had bell pepper, onion, sauce, of course, and jalapenos. Who taught me how to draw? Experience. Yeah, that experience taught me how to draw. I've been drawing for a really, really long time, and I just kept doing it over and over again, and experience taught me what I was doing wrong, and that's how I progressed. It was a very slow and painful process, but it worked. It got me to where I am today. Let's see, what kind of pizza? Oh, okay, yeah, I explained that one. Did I miss any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna get back. The ink should be about dry now. I was just waiting for the ink to dry before moving on. Looking for a pen here. Yeah, this should be good. And I'm gonna use a pen to draw out the letters. That's what I'm doing here. I'm drawing some letters. But I want the letters to be white instead of black, so I kind of have to do it reverse. So letters can be very, very difficult to do, especially when you're drawing them as a negative space as opposed to positive space. I have a white gel pen to help me. If I make any mistakes, I can do a little tiny bit of correction with the white gel pen. I think I made my A a bit too big. Trying to squeeze the T in there. I've never used ink before. How hard is it on artist brushes, and how do you clean them? Most inks are water soluble, as far as I know, most inks are water-based, which means they can easily be cleaned out of a brush with just soap and water. I've never had any issues with it. I've used this brush for watercolors, ink, acrylic paint, and I think that's it. Yeah, I've used that brush for a lot of stuff. As you get to know me, you'll find that I am probably the least professional when it comes to my brushes. I've used the same number 8 round brush for like the past 8 years for all of my colored pencil and solvent blending. So yeah, I'm not exactly the most professional when it comes to brushes. I kind of just use what I have, and then when I go to the art store, I buy like super cheap brushes. And fortunately, I have some amazing subscribers that keep sending me presents and keep sending me brushes. Honestly, I wouldn't even have like half of the brushes that I have if it weren't for the awesome subscribers that hit me up and to send me brushes. And I've had some really great gifts over the years, and I never forget. I'm always grateful for them. Yeah. What got me into art? That's another good question. Actually, okay, so when I first started getting into art, I was in first grade. So I would have been 5 years old because I was younger. I started first grade at 5 and then turned 6 a little more than halfway through the year. And so I was always like one of the youngest people in all of my grades. And in elementary school, you generally have art class, and it revolves around like just doing a bunch of weird projects and whatnot. And I remember we were looking at old pictures, like art that had been created a long time ago. And I have no idea why this picture like spoke to me, for a lack of better terms. I can't really think of a better one. And it was kind of like those Russian nest eggs that, you open it, you take the head off, and there's like a billion other little figurines inside of it. But it was a guy that had like arms like this, and it looked like he had legs, but as it went up to his torso, it just opened up as like a cup, and then there was like a bunch in there, and then the one that didn't have the top taken off was the guy's head and his arms like this. And he was blue. I remember he was blue, and it was really cartoony looking, and I don't know why, and I don't know how I came across it. I don't know the name of the original artist. I don't know how old the piece is, but that's what it looked like. I vividly remember that picture because in the first grade, I drew it over and over and over again. I just kept drawing it over and over and over again all the time, and I don't know why. That was, I can kind of say that was when I first got into art. I don't usually claim that it was the first grade that I got into art because it was just that one picture that I kept drawing over and over again. And I usually say that it was in second grade when I was 6 years old that I got into art because when I was 6 in the second grade is when I actively and can consciously remember practicing drawing. And so usually I say the second grade, but if you really want to go back to the actual source, it has to be the first grade. And I don't know what it was about that picture. And even though I can see it in my mind, like rather clearly, I can't quite replicate it on paper anymore, even though I probably drew it 100 times. But when I was in the second grade, I can remember drawing for the purpose of practice, like practicing, and I remember getting a lot of praise for the drawings that I did. When I was in second grade, I got into tracing a lot too. I practiced drawing by tracing as well, and I also got in trouble for some of the things that I drew. So when for an art project, I've told this story before, but as an art project in art class, we had to draw an underwater scene, and I'm sure a few of you probably already know this story because I have said it a few times. I had to draw a scene underwater using a white crayon, an actual crayon, the wax crayon, not colored pencils. I don't know why people call those crayons. They're pencils, not crayons. Anyways, a white crayon, because the wax from crayons prevent the watercolor from sticking to that part of the paper. So we had to draw things with the white crayon and then paint over it with watercolor. And it was a really fun project, and I enjoyed it. And what I ended up drawing was a mermaid with some fish and things like that. But there was one other thing that we had to do with the drawing. We also had to make it 3D. And what we did, what we had were these little foam cylinders that had a sticky side. Well, it was sticky on both sides. So there were these little round cylinder things that were about that tall, and you would stick it to the page, and then you peel off the top, and you'd stick something to that, and it would stand off the page, you know, about a centimeter. And I didn't do much with the sticky things to make the drawing 3D, with one exception. I made the mermaid's seashell bra stick off the page. Okay, I was 6 years old. I was in second grade. That's what I did. That's the only thing that was three-dimensional in my underwater scene, was the mermaid's boobs. And they gave me detention for it. A second grader, they gave me detention because I made the boobs 3D. Yeah, so that's another occurrence that I quite vividly recall. And the other thing that happened when I was in the second grade was I actually got in trouble from, I'm going to be moving on to the next panel here. I got in trouble from my friend's mom. Okay, and this is probably worse than three-dimensional boobs on a mermaid that were covered by seashells. Where's my eraser? Oh, it's literally right in front of me. I need to do a little bit of sketching here, so you can see the little nugget's eyes. So when I was around this age, my friend and we collected comic books, and I was really into like X-Men, and I had a few other comic books. I had Spider-Man comic books. Mostly Spider-Man and X-Men were my thing. He had a collection that he had gotten from like his uncle or something like that, a bunch of He-Man comic books that were like 40, 50 years old. They were older. They could potentially have been worth money, but I don't know. What I did and this is somewhat embarrassing. It's slightly embarrassing, but you have to take into account that I was still 6 years old, maybe 7 at this point. Maybe 7. But like I said, I was into tracing, and obviously boobs. And what I would do is I would trace the people, mostly the women in the comic books, and I would just not put clothes on them. I don't know why. I don't know why I do it, but yeah, I wouldn't put clothes on them, and instead I would trace them and then make them naked. And my friend, I don't know if he was embarrassed by it or he was afraid of getting in trouble or caught with them or whatever, but I had a collection of drawings of these characters that were all naked, and he gave them to his mom, and she was not pleased with my choice of subjects. And yeah, so there's another story. There's another story for you. All right, I think I can do a bit of inking here instead. If I missed any of your questions while I was going through my story time, feel free to ask me again. You learn to stay up for art. Yep. I bet the reason of your detention, your dad thought that's my boy. I don't know. I don't think they notified my parent. Just my dad. But I got detention a lot. I was a terrible kid. I got detention nearly every single day. Literally, every single day. First and third, or second and third grade. At least half the school year I spent in detention. I mean, I was just doing whatever I wanted. Which usually meant not doing homework or paying attention in class. Yeah, I was not a good student at all. I've never been a good student. Not even when I wasn't even a good student when I was in college. I mean, the only thing that changed is that I knew I had to do my homework when I was in college. But I graduated high school, with doing as little homework as I possibly could. I think you're probably bored to tears and that you weren't a bad student. Sneaks, you're right. I was absolutely bored in school. I was bored out of my mind. Yeah, I was definitely bored out of my mind. I almost failed my senior year of high school because of my math grade. Yeah, my math grade. I have a bachelor's in mathematics, and I almost failed. I almost failed my senior year because of my math, and it's because homework. My teacher thought it was a brilliant idea to make homework 50% of your final grade. I went the entire year. I never did any homework ever. Not one time did I do any math homework my senior year. But I would come in and take the tests, and I swear to you, every single test was 100% through the entire year. every quiz, every pop quiz, every test, 100%, every single time. By the time there was like a week or maybe 2 weeks, because grades had to be turned in for seniors, like 2 weeks in advance or something. My teacher came up to me. She said, you're going to fail math because you've done no homework. You have a 50% in the class. And that's because 0 homework and 100% on all tests and quizzes. So I had a 50% in the class. And she's like, you need to do something in order to pass the class. And I was like, well, what assignments do I need to turn in to pass the class? She gave me 3 homework assignments that were like just dumb stuff. I wrote down the answers within a single class period, gave her the assignments, and passed the class with a 72. So that is my my history in math. Got me talking about school. I went from second, third grade all the way to my senior year. I don't know what happened in between. No, I kind of do. I think I read somewhere somebody didn't. Yeah, Shiny, you said you didn't learn how to draw men until 2010. I was drawing for like the longest time, and one of the things that I would always do when it came to drawing people is that I would avoid drawing faces. And the reason is I just didn't know how to draw faces. And so what I would do is I would find ways to hide their face. And if I did draw a face, it was like really, really ugly and super, super terrible. And I didn't start to learn to draw people until I was in the 9th grade. So I was really far behind the curve on drawing people for most of my life. And once I started to draw people, it's literally all I drew. Like, as soon as I started to learn, and I learned some ways to create faces, it was all I practiced for, I don't know, 6 years. After I started drawing them in the 9th grade, I literally just practiced for like 6 years straight, and I just did it over and over and over again until I found a reasonable style. That's kind of why I do like I really enjoy doing like the manga. Oh, I can't be in camera. Where's the? I forgot I was zoomed in really far. Hopefully I wasn't out of camera too much. I have too much stuff on my desk. It's all in the way. I want to try to make sure I didn't get anything or miss anything. How long did it take to perfect shading? Actually, shading is one of the very first things that I got really, really good at. And I would say probably 7th grade. So I drew for like 4 years. And I'll tell you why. There's a few things that I'm really, really exceptional at because of the way that I drew early on, and the things that I drew and the things that I did. And when it comes to shading, I've had this conversation a little bit before because I've been asked about shading and how to get better at it. And I'll give you a few tips, a few tricks that you can practice without, practicing. You can just incorporate them into your artwork, and as you continue to incorporate them, you'll get better and better, because that's really what the secret is. But when it comes to shading, the reason I was able to develop good shading skills is because when I was younger, and I couldn't draw people. Remember, I couldn't draw people at this point. So I was just drawing things. I was drawing, you know, a pen that sits on the table. I was drawing a water bottle, a cup. I was drawing a bench in the park. I was drawing anything. I would just look around, a camera, a picture frame, anything I could draw, I would just draw it. And what I would then do is I would just shade it. And I would always establish a light source. I don't know, nobody taught me this. Nobody taught me this. It was just something that I did intuitively. And once I would establish the light source, I would sit there and I would think about how the light is hitting the object that I'm drawing. And what I would do is I would imagine the object. I would imagine the object from the perspective of the light. That's what I would do. And I did this. I was only 8, 9, 10 years old during this time, and so that's what I did. I would just. I need to zoom out a little bit. This is, yeah, there. That's how I did it, and I would just draw random things, and I just practice shading with no reference. I mean, occasionally I'd have a reference if I was drawing an object sitting in front of me, but you know, sometimes I would just draw what I thought that I could draw, like a bench. I know what benches look like, so I would just draw a bench. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about shading? Oh, okay. So more tips on shading. So there's two things. There's shading with reference, and then there's shading without reference. If you can't shade with a reference, then odds are you can't do it without one. So practice with just graphite, and you don't have to you know, do full-scale drawings. You can just do thumbnail sketches, no bigger than this frame right here, and you can just, you know, draw a coffee cup and then shade it really quickly, and just draw another small object, shade it really quickly, and start developing the skills on small pictures, you know, so it doesn't take forever and a day for you to complete something. It just takes, you know, 10-15 minutes, and the whole idea is to match the values that you're seeing in the reference photo. And if you're using a reference photo, you know, change it into a black and white photo, because that will help. That will help as well. No reason to work on a colored image if you're doing it in monochromatic colors or lack of color. I'm doing a whole bunch of lines here, so this frame is going to take a few minutes, but I think I'll probably not do too many more lines. Oops, I messed up. Gosh darn it. I went from the wrong side. Wasn't paying attention. I'm going to use my white gel pen and erase this line a little bit. Can't believe I did that. Wonder. Let's see. I have some acrylic gouache here really quick. I'm just gonna take some white. Acrylic gouache is super, super opaque. There. Yeah, I didn't mean to go from my vanishing point. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to talk, and yeah, I messed up. All right, there's a little nugget. Time to do a bit more inking here. Your nails are long. I need to cut them. They always appear longer than they actually are because I have wider, like, white tips, but they don't even extend past my fingertips. They look longer than they are. Trust me, my wife gives me enough trouble about them. I just want to go back and check to see if I missed any questions. I cannot show what I'm drawing today, Gabor, because I'm doing a manga page, and so I'm zoomed in doing one panel at a time, so I don't give the complete story away right away. So that's the plan for today. All right. This part here. This part here is going to be tricky to hide. Let's see. I need to... do a quick layout for my tat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. I messed up. So bad at this. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 right here. Trying to make sure I keep this in frame and still be able to do it without making a mess. Is Nugget a scared slug? Yeah, Nugget's a little chicken. Oh my gosh, that just made me think of a really great idea. Okay, so if anybody is you know, maybe struggling a little bit on today's prompt, I got a perfect idea for you. What you can do is you can draw little Nugget in a chicken onesie. Oh my gosh, if I would have thought of that, I would have totally done that instead of this. That would be absolutely hilarious. Nugget in a chicken onesie. Oh, that's I would have definitely done that instead. I want to see Nugget in chicken onesies right now. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to mess up. Oh, hello, Miriam. Welcome to today's live stream. Do a steampunk chicken. Oh, that would be cool. I'd like to see that. I'm drawing Clover being scared of a dog. Who's Clover? Is Clover your pet chicken? Does anybody have a pet chicken? I'd like a pet chicken. I think chickens are rather cute. What am I drawing? So I am drawing a manga page, and I am currently in the middle of. I'm in the middle. I'm trying to hide. Okay, I'm trying to hide the rest of the panels. I have 4 panels left. Okay, and I can. What I will say is that this is the last one that I'm going to have to fill with black ink. The reason I'm filling it with black ink is because it makes it scarier. So it has to be filled with black ink. The manga pages that I did last year were they were so much fun. I really enjoyed making up the stories and doing the panels and everything. I'm going to try to do as many as I can this year, but as I mentioned at the beginning, like the idea for this one just sprang into my head, and I knew exactly what every panel was going to look like and what I was going to do with the story. And that's how all of the ones from last year came. I didn't have to think. To make them up, and when they come to me naturally without me trying to force anything, they always come out better, and they always come out funnier. I don't even think I would try to force a good manga page out of myself, because I don't think that I'd be able to make it. I don't think I'd be able to make it very good. I'm gonna flip this around. There. Still managed to hide most of it. Can I please do a subject on how to shade with colored pencils? So there's not really such thing as shading with colored pencils. That doesn't really work, because when you're coloring with colored pencils, you're working with color, and there's really no such thing as shading when you're coloring. If you're working in a shadow, what you have to do is match the color, and that's really what it is. When you're working with black and white or monochromatic, your shadow becomes just matching the value. So there's not like my wife. She has been asking me to do a how to shade tutorial, literally since I met her, and so that was like a million years ago. It was like 5 years ago. No, it was 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? Yeah, it was 40 years ago. I hope she doesn't watch this live stream. Yeah, it was 4 years ago, and she's been asking me to do how to shade tutorial. But the truth is, I don't know. I don't know how to teach that because shading is not a thing, really. It's just matching the value of any given part of a drawing. So if you're looking at a reference photo, it's just matching the value. I'm not gonna zoom out and all that stuff, but that's really what it is. And so when you're working with colors, you're just matching the color and the value. When you're working monochromatically, you're just matching the values. And there's just no shortcut. There's no shortcut. There's no tutorial that I can make. There's no magic technique for shading, and you just have to match the color and value. Ignore everything. I did a live stream a couple weeks ago called All About Color, and we were drawing a bunch of shapes, as you'll hear me say throughout the live stream, just drawing shapes and color. And my only concern throughout the entire stream was matching the color. I didn't care about anything other than matching the color, and that is what approach I would suggest you try to do with your picture, and see if it doesn't work out for you. Because I have to say the same thing that I said to my wife when she has asked me a million times to make a tutorial on how to shade. And the fact remains is that I cannot come up with a way to describe or create a tutorial on the topic of shading, because for me and for my mind, shading does not exist. It just is matching the color and value at any given point, at any given part of a picture. So shade is a thing, but you don't necessarily, like, I don't know. See, I can't even really talk about it coherently. I can't make a tutorial. I would love to, but I don't know how to think about it in any other terms than how I imagine it, how I think about it. And those are the ways that I think about shading. So I ignore it. I ignore shading. If you're talking about the shapes of shadows, is that what I'm missing? Am I missing that you're asking me how to create the shapes of a shadow as opposed to how to color them in? Because if that's the case, then I could maybe do that. I could maybe create a tutorial on how to think of the shapes to create the shadow. Perhaps he means blending to get values. That could quite possibly be what he's referring to. You'll have to let me know if that is what you're referring to. But if you're referring to blending, I already have like 1.5 billion tutorials on blending. You can literally look up how to blend colored pencils, and my video is the #1 video. Let's see. Oh, my sister came into the chat. Hello, Cece. I'm glad that you were able to make it to the live stream. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any other questions. Oh, hello, anime artist. I think it's difficult when working with colored pencils to match colors, but deepen the value. Which pencils are in the right group? Well, I think that the mindset that you have is a little bit off, because if you separate color and value, then that's not the right way to think about it, because color has value. They're inseparable. You can't have a green that matches a green of a different value. Those are two different greens. One is just a darker green, one is a lighter green. They're different colors. And so matching the value is exactly the same as matching the color, because you cannot do one without the other. If you're going to match a color, you have to match it both in saturation and value. The problem that a lot of people have when it comes to matching colors is that they are afraid to go dark with their colors. People have the hardest time working with dark colors, and so what they end up doing is they try to match the color in saturation as opposed to matching the color, because matching the color also involves matching the color in value as well. This is another thing that I am exceptionally good at for one particular reason when it comes to matching colors, is because when I was younger and I started painting when I was in, I think, 9th grade or maybe 8th grade. I was 14 or 15, something like that, somewhere around that age. When I started painting with acrylic paint, and I only ever used black, white in the primary colors, and I needed to learn how to mix my paint to match colors. So that's what I did. I used only the primary paint for, goodness, maybe 8 years. I literally painted everything with the primary colors for like 8 years. I never got any other colors. 8 straight years, probably 100 paintings. Only used the primary colors. And I credit that resistance to buying any other color to my ability to match any color, and it doesn't even matter the medium. There's another complication when it comes to matching colors as well, and that's falling into the common optical illusion traps. Our eyes are super terrible. We have some of the worst eyes of any species on the planet, and for that reason we are super susceptible to very simple tricks when it comes to optical illusions. And the biggest problem that we have when it comes to matching colors is that we mistakenly see colors at the wrong value, and this is super obvious anytime you look at somebody doing a portrait, and the skin looks just like super light, and there's no life in the skin, there's no value in the skin, and you can't get the nose to stand out, you can't get the lips to look right, the eyes just look like they're floating on a page, and the skin is really light and washed out. And why is that? The reason that is because maybe the person has dark hair, maybe the background's dark. The problem is that we see the skin as the lightest object in the picture, and so we mistakenly perceive it to be much closer to white than it actually is. Skin is dark. It has a lot of colors. Sometimes it's as dark as black. And the thing is we see like the dark nostrils, like we'll have like black in the nostrils, or maybe black in the crease of the mouth, but then all of our other colors are just all over the spectrum of value. And it's because we don't want to go too dark because we're scared to death of making it look wrong. But the truth is that fear of matching the value and going dark with the color is what's holding you back from ever creating anything that looks really good. And it's something that you have to face. It's a fear you have to face with applying your colors. And yeah, you just have to, it's a struggle to get over it. And takes time, takes patience. How can you join the Unmasked family? Oh, you can click on the video description and you'll see a little thing that says join the family, and I have a link over to Facebook. And then you just click, you know, apply, and then let's see. I don't have any notifications yet, so when you apply, I'll have a notification. I'll be able to accept your request to enter. The last tat, finally. You can use color pickers on your color picker apps on your computer to see the correct value in color. Yeah, there is a free app, a browser app called Pixelar. Yeah, Pixelar, and you can use that. You can import any photos that you want, and then use the eyedropper tool to pick out the exact color. And that's what I do a lot. I study my reference photos before I ever work on them, and I establish my color palettes before I ever work on them. And I spend a lot of time just analyzing the reference photos in order to match the colors correctly. And once I match the color, once I know the color that I need, then I just apply it. I don't like slowly apply it for the sake of, you know, maybe not messing up. I just apply it, fully saturated and everything. I missed a question. Let me go back. Okay. In real life, can you see the value difference around the text you are drawing with the fine liner compared to the black surroundings? What? Do I see the value difference around the text that... Okay, so the value difference between the ink that I brushed on compared to the ink that I colored with the marker. Yes, I do see a difference. There is a very subtle difference, but not enough to do what I'm doing right now, and I don't know why I'm doing it. There is a very small value difference between the part that I brushed and the part that I used with the ink pen, and I think that might just be because I need more. I'm gonna test it out on this corner here. I'm gonna add another layer with the ink pen and see if that doesn't change the value a bit. But in the meantime, I'm gonna grab my white pen. And add some noise. There we go. That. Oh, I gotta scroll back down on the chat. Alright, let's go here now. It's so hard. Let's see, I'm gonna do a quick sketch. Let's grab my eraser. Got all this stuff on my desk now. I'm gonna make his eyes a little bit flatter. Kind of like he's squinting a little bit. There we go. Yeah, we're good. Do I have any source to chat with you alone? Like chat with audio or chat via messaging? I mean, you can always message me on Facebook. I don't do like personal calls unless you're a student. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time to do those things. But if you message me on Facebook, you know, I always try my best to respond as much as I can to the people that send me messages. It is, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard sometime, but I mean, in the Unmasked family, there's a lot of really great artists in the group, as you can tell from the artwork that keeps being submitted. But you can always ask the family questions if you have. But yeah, you can message me on Facebook as well, Richmond, and I will do my best to respond as much as possible. Okay, I need to try to block off as much of the rest of the panels here. Try to get some of that ink up. I need to use the ruler again. Fortunately though, this is going to be the easy part. Where's the pen? This one I just need some horizontal lines. Thank you all for the questions so far today. I appreciate that. You guys always ask the best questions. Hopefully, I've given some satisfying answers. Sometimes it's hard to give good unscripted answers. So I want to do my best to make sure that you get your questions answered. I love asking, I love answering, you know, the art related questions that you guys have for me. Try to give you the best input, best advice that I can, because I want everybody to get better, to feel like they're getting better with their art. Gotta go. We'll finish later. Everyone take care. Have a good day, night. See you next. All right, Brenda, you take care as well. Sorry for asking, but my post on the Facebook group was deleted. I'm wondering why. Well, if you're certain that you just weren't able to find it, there may have been a few reasons. So there's several moderators. There's several moderators in the group because I really can't keep up with all of it. I do my best. I try to help the moderators as much as I can. They're wonderful people, by the way. But I told them when I asked them to be a moderator, I was like, look, here are the rules. The rules are posted in the group so that everybody is able to read them easily. And I told them, I was like, look, I know sometimes it feels bad to have to remove artwork that people are posting or pictures that people are posting, but it is really important to make sure that they follow the rules so that we provide the best and most accurate to the description of the group, community, family for the group. So if you go through the rules, you might be able to answer your own question there, why it might have been removed. If it was removed accidentally, then of course I feel bad for that. But the rules are essentially not to share finished artwork for the sake of sharing it, because the reason I put the group together was to kind of to build a family around my channel and to make it a place where people could ask questions to learn. There's a million Facebook groups already that exist where, you know, you can share your finished pieces to try to get more followers, to get people's input on stuff. But when I made my group, I wanted it to be focused more on learning. And so really the only pictures that are allowed to be posted are ones that are work in progresses, where you're stuck on something and you just need input to continue. And so that is that's one rule that you might want to have a look at to see if maybe that was the cause for the post to be removed. But again, I don't like it. It's just that, you know, I want the group to remain more focused on learning than sharing artwork. So that could be a potential reason. Even if it's Inktober related, the Inktober pictures should be shared in the comments on the thread that I make so that I can keep them all in track. That might be a reason. Okay, yeah. Is there a reason as to why the lines are more far apart at the first on the third panel, or is it just coincidence? Why the lines are not like one right after another? The reason for that is because I want it to appear darker down at the bottom. That is the only reason. It creates kind of like a sense of drama with the lines. It's used a lot in manga. Sometimes it's used to create like a sense of speed, and in this case the speed is his eyes like shifting over to like look to see what's coming. Now I'm just outlining them to get them to stand out a bit more. There we go. Do I ever use dip pens? How do you prep the nibs? I have used dip pens in the past, and I've bought several since moving to Poland, and I have yet to find one that doesn't absolutely drive me crazy and is absolute trash. I've tried 3 different pens with about, I don't know, maybe around 10 or 15 different nibs, and I've even tried 3 different inks. Nothing works. They either don't write or they don't give me the control that I remember having when I started with the dip pen. I always really liked working with them because they were so flexible and you just can't get a cleaner line, the sharpest, like the cleanest line imaginable. And so I just kind of gave up on them, and the pens like this are just so much more reliable, and yeah. What makes this a manga style? Well, nothing. I mean, manga is essentially very similar to some American comic books. I mean, there's some differences, obviously, and my style just is more manga than comic book, I would say. So I go with manga style for that reason. All right, I can work on the next frame here. We got the chicken. We got a little chicken. So I'm just gonna ink this in real quick. Big old eyeballs. You're going to draw a chicken among some turkeys. Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, hello, Talia. Glad you're able to make it to the stream today. I'm actually almost complete. I've got just 2 more panels after this one. Well, actually just kind of 1 and then a drawing. I need a little speech bubble here. I need help. Can someone please talk me down from slurping on a 72-piece splurging? Slurping. Definitely go for it. Buy the pastels, Kimberly. Oh well, this is topical. So the guy interviewed in last Colored Pencil podcast loves to draw on canvas in colored pencils. What do you think about that? Yeah, a little bit of a skin crawl there. Oh, shiny, good. Yeah, good advice to Kimberly. Don't go with the 72. Go for the 120. Yeah, colored pencils on canvas. Ugh. That just hurts my teeth. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Alright, next panel. And in case you missed that. Alright, here's a little nugget over here. I don't know if slugs have tongues. I'm not sure if slugs have tongues, but Nugget's gonna have a tongue here. Can somebody Google if slugs have tongues? I'm genuinely curious now. It could be a good learning moment for all of us. Bagak. I just realized how quiet I've been the past couple minutes. Or maybe it was just like 30 seconds. It felt like an hour to me, though. Oh yeah, that would make a great zine, listing animals that don't have tongues. Thanks, Will. Great idea. It sounds like a cat tongue. Slugs eat using a radula, a rasping tongue-like organ covered with thousands of tiny tooth-like protrusions called denticles. That is the coolest word I've ever seen in my life. Denticles. It seems like they have tongues. Many pages about it on Google. All right, well, we all learned something new today. Slugs have tongues with denticles. Well, good. Then my anatomy on Nugget is correct. He's his eyes are kind of squinting. Super scared little Nugget. Let me erase my lines really quick before moving on. And then I can add some more weight to the lines so that he shows up a bit more. All right, now onto the last little panel. Got the chicken here. This drawing is rather small, so I gotta get kind of close. Does anybody else do that? I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes I draw with my tongue out. Does anybody else do that? I mean, I don't do it consciously, but I am aware of it occasionally. And I'm just curious if anybody else does that. Yeah, tongue is the one side of the mouth. Hope nobody sees it. Nugget's eyes are amazingly expressive. Yeah. I try to make his eyes as expressive as I can. He doesn't have, I mean, he has his eyes and his mouth and a little bit of his body language. Doing a slug body language is yeah, it's pretty tough. It's definitely a challenge for me. I don't do many cartoon type things. And Nugget, he's always been a healthy challenge for me when it comes to drawing. I remember there was one project that I did, not a project, but there was one Inktober piece that I did last year that I think I showed yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I had the hardest time ever creating this one position that Nugget was in. He was running, but he was running towards the camera, so as opposed to like running horizontal the way I have him here, and it was super difficult to figure out what his anatomy should look like in that position, and I had a really hard time with it. I figured it out eventually, but it took a bunch of tries. It took a whole lot of tries, actually. Grab my ruler really quick and give this some ground here. And then I'm just going to give them some lines for speed. And there we go. Yep, Nugget is running as fast as he can. So that's the manga page. We got first tat tat tat. Then Nugget pops in. He's like, "What was that?" Tat 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 tat. Nugget's like, "What the heck was that?" Chicken comes in. Bagak. Nugget's like, "Ah, get me out of here!" And then the chase is on. That is the complete manga page. Needs to leave the stream to watch pictures of turkeys. Trying to figure out the chicken onesie for Nugget. Oh, awesome. Well, I hope to see that. I hope to see some Nugget in chicken onesies. So if you're struggling, like I said earlier, if you're struggling with today's prompt and you want an idea, I want to see Nugget in a chicken onesie. I think I almost want to just draw that for fun today because I like the idea. I like the thought the most. All right, everyone. So that does it. I'm done. That's my Inktober drawing for today. Well, Nugget, I can assure you, Nugget's adventure will continue for Inktober. Let me see. I know there's got to be another fun one. Maybe we can continue this story. Let's see. Oh, day 7. Day 7 is exhausted. So, you know, perhaps Nugget and his adventure here will make a return on day 7, and we'll have to see what happens. Exhausted, that could be a good one. Let's see, I don't see any other ones. Yeah, so in a couple days, is that be Sunday, right? Yeah, so Sunday's stream will be exhausted, and I feel exhausted right now. Yesterday was a tough one. Yesterday's stream I did in the morning, and then I did Patreon stream in the evening. It was a lot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's stream. Hopefully half as much as I did, because I had a lot of fun. So make sure you give the video a thumbs up so that I know I am doing something right. And join the Unmasked family in the video description so that you can share your Inktober pieces, and I'll share them on tomorrow's stream. Make sure you check out tomorrow's stream, the time, because if I'm not mistaken, I'm doing it in my evening, which is like in the afternoon for the United States, and then possibly like super early in the morning for Australia, Japan, those places. So yeah, that does it for today. Thank you all so much for coming by and hanging out, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.